Hey, hello and good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cars and Coffee with Kenny Live. If you're a car guy and you are looking for really good technical information about performance in your cars, you are in the right place. Like I say, I'm Kenny Brown, and I'm here to share some of my extensive 40 plus years of professional motorsports and building absolutely great street cars, track cars, and championship winning race cars. And today we got it's a really good episode today. We got a lot of cool things on tap. On the tech side, we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between a drag racing K member and like a street performance or a track K member, and what to look for in each. We're going to I got some things to say about the S550s to kind of dispel, get rid of some of the things we've heard on the internet. Or have been relayed to me. And we're going to talk about another 5-day Transformer Driving Experience workshop. The first one we did went really well, and we've had a lot of requests to do it again, so that's upcoming. We'll get to that later. And of course, I'll answer your questions live. If you have any questions, please send them in, and I'll do my best to answer them if I can. So that's what I'm here. I'm here to answer your questions and talk about what you want to know. So going down my handy-dandy list, let's see, I got that, we're simulcasting on YouTube Live and Facebook Live, one of our technical marvels that we discovered. And as far as replays, if you miss any, you can get all the replays on the Kenny Brown YouTube channel. It's YouTube Kenny Brown TV. And there's, what episode are we up to? 34, my goodness. How time flies. And let's see, I didn't have a chance to change the artwork this month because we've just been really swamped with stuff. So we're still living with the formation finish at Le Mans of the GT40s in 1966. I'll have something new up next week for you. Let's see. Okay, I'm going down my list. I'm doing really well. And we've got I'm going to answer some questions from the Speed Therapy Society. If you're not a member of the Speed Therapy Society, I suggest you get on board. It's a really great group of like-minded people that like performance, like cars. There's a lot of comments and chatter and pictures of cars, and it's pretty cool. Even videos of cars. So if you're not a member, please join. If you like what we're doing, I got to throw this in or get in trouble. If you like what we're doing, give us those old thumbs up and show some love. That always helps, kind of spread around what we're doing. And if we didn't say that, I get in trouble with Carrie. So thumbs up. Let's see. And like I say, the questions that I answer come from the Speed Therapy Society because, again, I talk about what you want to know about. So why don't we just jump right into some questions? These are good questions, but really hard questions. The first one comes from Scott Fair. I apologize if I didn't say that right. And his question is oversteer, understeer, better control. Boy, you talk about a big subject. In the short form, what is oversteer and understeer? And the simplest way to explain it is understeer is when the front of the car hits the wall first. Oversteer is when the back of the car hits the wall first. Working with oversteer and understeer, it's super complex. We actually have just gone through that in the Speed Therapy Academy. We had 3 weeks, Carrie, we spent on the whole that sort of subject, going through the different types of oversteer, understeer. When people call me, like they've got our set running, our suspension, everything, and they talk about, I've got understeer, I got push, I loose. And my first question is, because it can happen in different ways, is it understeer at turn in, at mid corner, or at corner exit? And same thing with oversteer, turn in, mid corner, corner exit, because each one of those segments has just a long list of possibilities of things that it could be, or ways to fix it. And like I say, the guys in the Speed Therapy Society, we went through that in a big way. And as far as, what can you do? The first thing you need to do is, and I preach this like loud and often is you gotta check your tire pressures, your tire temperatures and pressures. You would be amazed the difference if you're not taking your tire temperatures. The difference is just dramatic in getting your pressures right. Could anybody put that article, put a link to the article up on the tire temps?
Yeah, that's Brad too.
Brad, if you're out there, can you find the link for the Kenny Brown tire temps article? I wrote an article, several years back on the importance of taking tire temperatures. And that's the very first thing we do. And if somebody calls and says, he tells me that they have understeer wherever it is, my next question is, what are your tire temperatures? Because that tells me a lot. I mean, the thing is, understeer going into a corner or anywhere in a corner can be caused by too much roll stiffness, too much bump in the shocks, not the right tire pressure, not the right camber. I mean, there's a whole list of things that it could be. So it's really tough for me to kind of condense that down into a little thing. But I can tell you that you need to look at your tire temperatures, because just a pound off from being where it needs to be can create understeer or oversteer pretty simply. And you can't start looking for what to do next or what the problem is until you get your tire pressures right, because you want 100% contact patch, and you want it flat. And that tells me that somebody gives me their tire temperatures, and what they're doing. I walk them through, and then I kind of tell them things that suggest things that can help. But sorry, I can't do more of an answer, but it's a super complex question. But like I say, the best thing to do is just be sure you get your tire temperature before you even think about understeer, oversteer. Get your tire temperatures right, and then if you have more questions, certainly you can check in with Carrier, check the schedule, and set up one of my complimentary 15-minute consults. I can talk you through if you've got oversteer, understeer. We can talk about it, and I can make some suggestions. So yeah, that's what I'm here for, and that's why we've got the 15-minute consult, because answers are too long to just kind of give as we're going through. And here's another one from Alexander with a Camaro, taking the curves and corners at high speed. Okay, I'll go back to back tire temperatures. Get the tire temperatures right, then, and you work with that cornering at high speed. This is another complex question. Cornering, you got to get the car set up right first, and there's a number of different ways to take corners. We just like in Speed Therapy Academy again, we just went through some videos of some of our students, their videos on driving. We all kind of critique them, and I showed them like the lines I would take, and then I showed them some of my videos of I think Audubon and Road America. So I mean, taking the curves and corners at high speed, first of all, make sure you got good springs and good shocks. I always talk about building a performance car starts with the performance platform, chassis, suspension, wheels, tires, brakes. That's the secret to my cars. That's why they all work so well. So for high speed, I mean, you want some spring rate. Most street cars, I'll give you some examples of Mustangs. So that's what I work with the most, like an S197. The spring rate they come with from the factory, I think it's 134, 150, something like that on the front. Our sport touring spring rate is about 350. Our sort of intermediate street track day spring rates are in the street sport touring is 350, street performance is 400, intermediate track on street tires is 500 to 550, and then our advanced track guys on like sticky tires is a 650. So you've got to get some spring under the car. Most of the aftermarket off-the-shelf springs that you can get, replace the OE, are only in the 200 to 220, 25 pound range, which it's better. It's better than what's stock, but it's still not enough for really good handling. And if you go up on spring rate, you've got to have the shocks to go with it, because the shocks and the springs have to be matched so they work together. If you want to set it at 15-minute, we can get you good shocks and springs. I just need to know more about what your application is, what you're doing. And as people that work with me know that when we do our coilovers, we pretty much do coilovers mostly exclusively. We do have some non-coilover option. We do have a non-coilover option for the Mustangs using Coney Sports and a really high, about 320, 350 pound spring that is kind of like an alternative for coilovers, but that you still can't get your ride height adjustment. So we've got a number of different coilover packages, different spring rates for different applications. And for those that have been with us or got coilovers know that I actually individually pick the spring rates for each individual customer based on the car, the use, just a lot of different things. I will custom pick a spring rate. And when the shocks come, like the GRZs, they are assembled with pre-adjustment, adjustment 101 and setup sheet. So yeah, if you're really interested in better control, give me a call and we can kind of talk about it and see if I can help you out. Okay, now here's another one from Josh. Let's see, balancing comfort for street setup, correct adjustments for track days. I got a chance to ride with your son. That's my late son, Paul. If anybody doesn't know, he hell of a driver. He 2011 World Challenge GTS Championship. He just absolutely dominated. He totally dominated that series, and then unfortunately passed away with cancer the next year. Let's see. Okay, he rode with my son at Hallett. He hardly looked up, watching his hands, feet incredibly smooth. I don't know. And it didn't come through. We don't know what Paul.
Well, they want to know if that's teachable. How?
Oh, you want to know if that's teachable? Kind of yes. I think Paul came by that really pretty honestly because I've had a lot of comments that my footwork and driving is incredible and smooth. I mean, I look at it like a ballet, and is it teachable? Absolutely. Can you do it like that? No. I mean, it's just takes concentration and practice, understanding how the car's working, what to do with your feet and your hands. Everything has to be really smooth. Anything that jerks, you don't press the gas, press the brake. It unsettles the car. Smooth is keeping if the car wants to be smooth, you have to be smooth. Your hands, your feet, no big reactions. That's what kind of upsets the car. So is it teachable? Absolutely. And I've taught many people that. And it's, smooth is good. We used to have in our shop on Gasoline Alley, we had signs all over the place that said smooth is good, smooth is fast. So yeah, and then the other part is the balancing for street and track. This is Cars and Coffee, so I'm talking cars and I have my coffee. Okay, I got a couple of tricks for street and track. The first thing you want to do is you want to get your car aligned for the street. And we have in the resources in Speed Therapy Society, there's an alignment sheet. Facebook group, Speed Therapy Society. There is an alignment sheet for SN95, 197, and 550s. You get your street alignment set first. And if you've got adjustable shocks, then you're running reasonably soft for the street. So you get your street set up first. When you go to the track, this is what I do. Let's say, for example, see if I can do this without looking. Okay, now, I don't know if you see it. This is one of our Fox camber plates. But as you can see, what I did is I made little marks. Let's say that's the street setup. I made little marks. When you go to the track, we drop it down and we put all the camber in there is, okay? And then once all the camber's in, then you use your tire temperatures to start backing camber out. And typically, if it's a clockwise track, there's going to be more camber on the left side than the right side. But we normally run about on track 2.5 degrees, 3 degrees, and negative camber. All positive, as much positive cast it'll take, and about a 1/16 of an inch toe out, not toe in, toe out. That toe out helps the car turn in. So, and then when you're done after your track day, then you just move the camber plates right back to the street adjustment that you marked, and you don't have to go to the alignment shop. So that's one trick. Again, working with your tire pressures and temperatures, and then if you've got the adjustable shocks, you turn them up a couple notches for the track. I probably should do a little segment sometime on adjusting shocks. You know, put that in my notes, because that's, I mean, there's a way to do it. Single adjustable, double adjustable. I mean, I can break it down pretty simple, even though it's complex. But we'll do that another day. We'll talk shocks another day. So that's it. Balancing comfort for the street. I mean, you've got to get a spring set up that goes both ways, depending on what your car is. You know, if it's, here's the deal. It needs to be one of two things. It needs to be a street track car or a track street car, because the setup will be completely different between the two. Your spring rates will be different. Again, if that's something you want to know more about, you know, sign up for a 15-minute consult, and I'll kind of go through it. But I think you'd want to be like, we're working on a 550. I'm working on a sport touring package right now, and I'm trying a number of different spring rates. And I think you'd want to be at least in somewhere 350, 400 to be both street and track, and 400 be good enough to get you well into intermediate or on street tires. So yeah, give me a call and we'll figure it out. I think you get a good set of shocks and springs for you. Wow, I'm all the way through page 1 first already. Just flying along. Okay, here we go. I would have forgotten this. It wasn't written down. If you're just joining us, yeah, I'm Kenny Brown. This is Cars and Coffee Live, where I expound my extensive knowledge and experience from 40 years of professional motorsports and building great cars and championship winning race cars. Yeah, I've actually got 7 national championships in racing at the professional level. Let's see, yeah, history about Cars and Coffee. Oh, why I started Cars and Coffee is because every time I do like a tech session at a track day, I'd have people come up and say, man, I wish I could just have a teeny bit of your brain and knowledge. So we decided, you know, why not? I mean, I know a lot. Why shouldn't I share it with people? I know that our competitors are probably learning more than they knew before. I lost my place. Here we go. Oh, my toolbox. This little toolbox, man. That thing has been to just every major racetrack in North America more than once over 40 years, and that's why I keep it. I mean, that's how I learned. You know, I learned with my hands. You know, building cars, you know, that's why I look at things very differently than most people, because I mean, I live my life building cars and racing. Let's see, we got some tech stuff coming up. Oh, here's another one. Give me more thumbs up. More thumbs up and love. For those who've been with us for a while, know all about the little notes that Carrie gives me every day, because I would forget. And if I don't forget, she walks up here with a sign and says, bah. So I'm trying to get everything so I don't get in trouble. Okay, let's get to today's episode. We're going to do a couple things. We're going to look at, I want to show you the difference between like a drag racing K member and a track / street, high performance street K member. And on the 550s, it's kind of like this is, we've had some people that reported in that said that there was some internet chatter that was wrapping us for not having anything for the new 550 cars. All we worked on was old cars. I mean, I'll tell you a couple of things. First of all, the worst place to get information is either in the paddock or the internet, because most people on the internet are totally uninformed. And whoever was putting them up had no idea what this company's about. We are not a parts company that just builds pretty replacement parts for factory pieces. We're a car building company first. We build the cars, and if I can't find what I need to make the cars work, we'll manufacture it. And that's what our whole parts program is. Everything in our parts program is what I use, what I put on my cars. So, I mean, we're not a parts company. We're a car company that has a parts program. So that's a real difference. The other thing, they know nothing about business. I mean, we've got the best S197 suspension on the market, and we're going to keep it that way. I mean, it's dollar for dollar. You're not going to get a better suspension than our GT4 AGS 4.0 suspension. And also for the older cars, I mean, we've got, we still support the 99 to 04 Cobras because I was the only one that really knew about IRS cars when they came out. We've worked with them, and we've pretty much, if it comes to IRS Cobras, we're the only people in the aftermarket and that know as much as we do. I mean, we are the place. So, I mean, from a business standpoint, those are two good customer groups for us that we continue to support. And we also, for the 550s, I'm building 550 cars, and we'll go through a couple of things in a little bit. And it's okay. And the details of the upcoming 5-day Transform Your Driving Experience workshop. I don't know the details. I need some help on details.
Okay, the Transform Your Driving Experience 5-day workshop is coming up. It's starting March. Oh my goodness. I'm still in March. It's starting November 16th, runs all week long. It's at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the evening. And it's, you know all about the program. I'll let you explain the program, but the dates. You can sign up on the Speed Therapy Society Facebook group page. There will be links on the Facebook Kenny Brown Performance Facebook page, and there's also a spot on the Kenny Brown website where you can register for the workshop. It's well worth the time.
There you go. Yeah, it's 5 days, and I think last time it ended up being 6 days. But I try to go through building a performance car, how I do it, what I've learned over the years. And it's kind of like building cars or building anything is a lot of trial and error. And over the years, I've racked up lots of error. But you learn from your mistakes, and that's something that I learned from my mistakes. And if by listening to me, if I could help save you from making some of the mistakes I did, you're going to save time and money, and you're going to be happy. So that's what's happening in that. That's the details of the 5-day program. Okay, let's move on to K members. The difference between and this is what we kind of do for in the Speed Therapy Academy. This is kind of a little taste of how we do the Academy. So drag racing. Drag racing.
It's not showing.
What?
Is it showing on your screen?
Yeah.
It's not showing on our screen.
It's on my screen. Don't tell me we have another technical glitch.
Yeah, I think we're having a technical glitch. Okay, why don't you talk about, did you click on share?
I bet I didn't click on share. Oh, here we go. Good old technology, and I forgot how to get out of this screen.
You click escape.
I just clicked escape. Oh, there we go.
It's still not up.
Do
you see it?
I don't see the share thing. Oh, here we go. I got it. Okay, we're on board now. I just have to find it. Boy, this is a really small thing, Carrie.
Well, that's because you're not sharing it yet. There you go.
There I go. What?
It's on. You have to click.
Oh, come on. But why isn't this doing it?
So why don't you talk about the Academy, and I'll try to figure it out on my end.
Okay, I'll talk about the Academy, and she'll try to figure it out on her end. The Academy is was supposed to be a 12-week program. It's actually turning into, we're going to like 13 weeks, and we're going to wrap it up here I think next week we wrap it up, and we've gone through. I take all the different subjects that we talk about normally, and we really take a deeper dive. Suspension, shocks, geometry, wheels, tires, brakes, driving. In fact, last week, the last session, Thursday, was driving. And before that, it was all the different things. You talk about the understeer, oversteer, all the different things that can impact understeer and oversteer. And it's. I think everybody's had a really good time. My screen is bouncing around doing things. What's your screen doing?
There you go.
There I go. What?
It's showing up on your screen.
Yeah, but I can't do anything with it.
Okay, well, I will go through the process.
And it's only a little bitty thing on my screen. Ah, I still can't do anything. You're gonna have to do it for me.
Yep, I will.
Okay, this is where I had to have double team this. Now it got small again. Okay, I'll work with it. Okay, let's talk about drag race K members and street K members. Slide. Slide. Oh, come on.
It's coming. There you go. Okay, ready?
Yep. Okay. Drag race K members. Okay, in drag racing, the objective is to be super light, save weight. So a drag racing K member is going to be very minimal in structure and weight. And the purpose of that is, like I say, they're always looking to save weight. So, and they're only going, down a straight line down the track. So you really don't need, you don't need the robustness, let's say, of one that goes on the track. And you can see that this is a pretty nice drag racing K member and control arm setup, but it's minimalistic. Next page. And here's another one from a different manufacturer. And again, it's minimalistic. They just have little tabs for the control arms. Touch your button. Okay. Next one. Now this is our SN95. It can also be adapted to a Fox K member. And you can see there's a big difference in the robustness of the K member. We're using 1.5 inch square tubing, 095 wall, really stout. We've got triangulation for the on the sides and some supports in the middle. Next page. And here's another view of it. And you can see we don't have just tabs for the control arms. We've got buckets that are reinforced. Okay, next. And this is actually what we call the entire front grip kit for SN95 Fox. And again, you can see some real robustness in everything. The K member, actually we've updated the K member, and the internal, the bent rods internally for structure are been replaced by pretty huge gusset, which we think is going to be a lot stronger. And then we've got some our control arms are completely different than anybody else. Let me show one of these. Okay, this is an SN95 control arm. And nobody else has a control arm like this, because when we developed these in 2000, that's Kenny Brown label. You always have to look for the label and serial tag, so you're getting a genuine Kenny Brown part. Because my parts I have so much of my stuff has been copied on the internet, it's just crazy. But this is really robust and it's super strong. And do we have an FEA picture we can put up? Back to the video. Back to the.
Do you see it?
Nope. I don't see it.
You see it now?
Yep. Go down one. The FEA analysis isn't in there.
I think this is called a do-over.
Yeah, this is going to be a do-over. Anyway, I've got some FEA analysis that I can show you that really shows how strong those control arms are. So let's keep going down though. Anyway, okay, we're getting into S197, and this is kind of I wouldn't call this a track K member or a full-on drag racing K member. It's kind of in between. I mean, it's got some sizable tubing, but when you go to our K member, when we go to our S197 K member, you can see this is the whole front grip kit. S197. You can see again we have a lot of robustness. We use straight. Everything goes straight and triangulated for strength. So I mean that's kind of like the difference between drag racing and track. I engineer my K members first and foremost for strength and durability. And if there's any weight savings, then I just look at that as a bonus. I think the SN95, though, converting to coilover, saves around 40 pounds off the front end. I think the S197 is about the same. So anyway, that's kind of like the difference. I think this is going to have to be a do-over. But so now that we had that went so smoothly, I think let's see how how smoothly the 550 goes. Now I think I can.
Do you think you can get in there? I know you can.
I don't know what happened.
Are you?
I can't control it. You had the 550 up?
No, not yet. So why don't you talk about?
Why don't I talk about how technology screws us up all the time?
Just hold on a second. I'll get to it. I wasn't prepared for this.
So I'll just twiddle my thumbs, and if I had any good jokes, I'd tell you.
Well, Wendy has a question. How hot should performance tires get? Radial and slick.
Okay, Wendy's asking how hot should performance tires get, the radials and slicks. It depends on how hard you're driving. I see typical track temperatures for track people are between, let's say, 145 and 170. And race tires are going to be in the same, a little more. It just depends on the tire manufacturer and the compounds. But anything in the 145 and 170 is kind of like normal for track day cars. Race tires, I think we see in the World Challenge Pirelli slicks, maybe 170, 180. If you get the pressures right, I mean the driver doesn't drive crazy. Like I say, the harder you drive, the more the tire temperatures are. And if you're taking tire temperatures, you're going to find out when you first start taking them, you're going to be in this range. And the more you take them, the better, the faster the car gets, your temperature keeps moving uphill. So the whole temperature thing is pretty much driver-based and pressure-based. So there we go. So this is really not working out at all.
There we go.
Is that it?
Yep.
Ah, there we go. Yay. Okay. Is that the very first page?
That's the very first page.
Okay. Like I said before, the people are knocking us for not having anything for the new 550 cars. Well, like I said before, I'm a car builder first. And when I can't find what I need to make the cars work, we create it. Now, the moving up from the Fox, SN95, S197, every new generation of Mustang is better and better. The 550s are just a magnificent car. I mean, Ford did a super job. They made it super rigid, which is good, because then the suspension works better. They got the really nice front suspension, really nice rear suspension. So the base package, it works pretty good right from the factory, but that doesn't mean we can't make it better. In the next page, now this is a GT4 CS and Club Sport, and this is development. This is one of our first development cars. This is, you know, a number of years back, and you can just tell that going around the corner, that car is planted. I mean, it is absolutely planted, and that car actually just smokes GT350s because we get better cornering speed. And here's another shot of it, I think at Road America. But we did a lot of development early on and discovered that we didn't need a whole bunch of fancy stuff to make the cars work. So that's the Club Sport, which is kind of a medium package. And the next picture, I'm introduce you to Maryland. All our cars, you know, our customers that we do, you know, major jobs on name their cars. The previous one was Ruby 2, and I kind of refer to it Ruby Tuesday. But this one is Maryland, and this is a GT4 CSR. This is our top of the line track day / street car. And the reason it's named Maryland is that, I mean, it was a really complex build, and it took a long time. We had all kinds of delays from suppliers. So and Jeff Cox, the owner, he named it, and he called it Maryland. And the reason is that well, first of all, it's that white, that three-stage white. That's really kind of pretty. So it's a platinum blonde that everybody wants to get their hands on, but nobody can catch. So that's why it's called Maryland. Okay, let's move along. So I'm just going to go through and kind of show some of the content that I put into these cars. And this is a good rear shot. I see the wing. It's a 3D wing, and you can't see there's a diffuser underneath. But next slide. Okay, here's another shot. Now again, you just look at that car, and that car is absolutely planted. I mean, it's moving fast, and it's as stable and as sturdy as can be. And I can tell you that driving that car is just an incredible experience. Next one. Here's a shot from the back showing our wing diffuser and exhaust system. Okay, next. That's a good picture too, and another good picture coming around the corner. Okay, we're getting into the parts next. Okay, take a look at these brakes. You see they got the Kenny Brown name on them. Those are absolutely the biggest brakes you can put on an S550 Mustang. That is a 15-inch rotor, and the calipers are about 14.5 inches tall. Big, huge. And you can see that it's got a really aggressive fin profile on it. And if we go to the next picture, it shows that the rotor is actually 15 by 1.4 inches. So that is the absolute biggest caliper available for a 550 Mustang, and the biggest rotor available for a 550 Mustang. So saying we don't have anything for the new cars is just wrong. And this is what we also do for the factory. If somebody wants to keep the factory brakes on, like the Brembos, we go to two-piece slotted rotors, which cool better, and they have the slots to help vent gases and brake dust. And for the back of the car, we have we have a 6-piston 15-inch package for the back. It's the same six-piston calipers we've been using for years and years. Those are the calipers that I ran on Ruby, my car, track car, except I had the racing versions, which are lightened up and is a little bit different. But, you know, really amazing brake package for these cars. Okay, next. Now we've got three levels of actually I think 4 different shock packages for the 550s, and this is our premium shock package. These are the JRZ RS Pros. They're monotube, double adjustable with a remote canister. And when we say remote canister, a lot of people don't understand what that canister is all about. Well, to make it simple, if you've ever seen a double adjustable shock, typically a double adjustable shock will have the rebound adjustment on top and the bump adjustment on the bottom. Well, you know, climbing under, if you're tuning at the track, climbing under the car all the time to just bump is just kind of a pain in the butt. So the canister actually is the bump adjust. The canister adds extra fluid volume, and you adjust your bump on the canister. So having that like tucked under the hood where you can reach it right next to the rebound adjustment or in the trunk just makes it super handy. And this is just an absolutely amazing shock package. Again, I handpicked the springs for this application. And what we use mostly is the JRZ single adjustables, and then we've got another street performance coilover package that works really well. So, and then we've got, of course, forged line wheels. We've got a number of different forged line wheels for the 550s. We've been using forged line since that very first came out along at 94. Just amazing wheels, and we'll stick by them forever.
We also have a lower price.
Oh, you also have a more modest, a reasonably priced wheel package too, for people that if the forged lines are super premium wheels, but the price reflects that. But we also have some more better priced wheels, value. Let's call them value wheels. Okay, and here's something that we have that nobody else has. Jacking rails. I mean, all the jacking rails you see are mostly just tubes that when there's a problem when you put a flat tube on the jacking rails. I mean, the flat tube on the cars there, because what you mount to has a 5-degree angle to it. And we had one customer called, and he's got some jacking rails from somebody, but he says the whole thing is tilted, and he only gets to put the jack on the edge. Well, we solved that problem. This isn't a tube. This is a fabricated jacking rail, and if you look at it at the end, you can see that it's a parallelogram. It's not a rectangle, and the reason for that is the 5-degree angle sits on the car, so it's absolutely a perfectly flat surface all the way down for a jacking rail. So that's something nobody else has. And if we could go to the next slide. Okay, engine. For this particular car, it's pretty cool. Of course, we've got the cold air kit and my really, really good triple pass, triple thick aluminum radiator that cools, has amazing cooling job. But then we've got the cold air kit, which as you can see is pretty snazzy. And then my three triple pass radiator. When I say triple pass, standard radiator is a single pass. The water comes in the top on the right and it goes out on the bottom on the left. In stock car racing, dual pass radiators became really fashionable, where it goes in the top, makes a U-turn, and comes out. But for mostly GM cars, I think that worked the best. So for a Mustang, that's pretty impractical. Because the inlet's at the top right and then the outlet's on the bottom left. So with a triple pass, the water comes in, goes across the radiator, makes a U-turn, comes back across the radiator, makes a U-turn, and goes back across the radiator again. So it's a triple pass. Your coolant makes 3 passes through the radiators, and the radiator itself is like triple thick, absolute total drop-in. Just super easy OE replacement. I take the OE radiator out and drop this new one in. And because of the fin designs, I think it's like 17% more surface area. So that's the radiator. We had one customer with a GT350 at Road America. This radiator took 30 degrees of temperature out on track, which is pretty significant. So, and next we have use a 4-point roll bar in our track cars, in the 550s and the S197s. And of course, with the roll bar goes harness belts. We've got a couple of different harness belts. I mean, if you're doing getting into like intermediate and advanced, you really have to be held into your seat, and you need a good set of harness belts. So we've got several different ones of those, and these are one of those I chose for this car. Next, and of course we have exhaust. This car also had Bassani headers, X-pipe, high flow cats, and exhaust system. And go back. So anyway, the exhaust was part of the engine package. And I kind of got off of the engine package. What we did, because this is a really cool track car, we put in some comp cams, stage 2 cams. And this was the 17, so we put the GT350 intake and throttle body in, and with headers, and it just makes really makes really nice horsepower, just pulls like a freight train. It's really, really fast to go with the rest of the car. You know, on the forge lines, we had, I think, 19 by 10 and 11, maybe 11 front, 11 and a half front, and 19 by 12 in the back with a 305 in the front and a 325 in the back. Trofeo R's, which are super, super sticky tires. So that, I mean, to say we have nothing for these new cars is just, it's wrong. People don't have any idea what they're talking about. Okay, we got our jacking rails, we got our Schroets, we got our exhaust, and also there's a diffuser in there that's a little hard to see. What's next? There's a front splitter and of course a tow hook. Anybody that's that does serious track days really should have a tow hook. This is pretty unique because it actually unscrews. So you can just unscrew it for the street and then just screw it back into the track. But anybody that's kind of had a car that died and gone off track, it's really handy to hook up to a tow hook rather than trying to reach under the car and break something. And there's another shot of the splitter on the car. Makes for a pretty aggressive look, don't you think? What's next? You really can't see all of it. There's a Bennett hood. I put Bennett hoods on all my advanced cars. And those are the aero catch hood latches, which are called aero catch because they just melt right in. They don't create any disturbance. But Bennett hoods do two things. First, they get out the hot air that builds up in the engine compartment, which is good. And secondly, without a Bennett hood, as the air comes through the radiator, a place to go down. So you actually start building high pressure underneath the nose of the car. And by bending the hood out, you're relieving some of that pressure, which actually significantly improves front grip, which is, getting back to understeer, oversteer, improving front grip, helps eliminate understeer. So do you have anything left? Sure we do. This is another development car we're working with right now. This is a GT4 ST, and ST stands for street touring or sport touring. And working on it, I've been playing around with spring rates on this. We've come up with a really good set of spring rates that would be like a track street car, but not like all the way up to the CSR level. That makes the car, with the right springs and shocks, these cars just turn. It's absolutely amazing. So this is our street touring package, and our sport touring package, I say. And like I say, we build cars first. So you've seen three different levels of cars that I do. We've got the Club Sport, the CSR, and making me dizzy. The Club Sport, the CSR, and then the Sport Touring. So I'm a car builder. I got lots of things for new cars. It's just I don't make trinkets. By trinkets, I mean somebody will take a factory part and just make something that looks fancy out of aluminum or something like that. It doesn't really change anything. Like on S197 cars, every single piece that goes into the rear grip kit in S197, every piece has an positive impact on suspension geometry. So like I say, for right now, the 550s, there's some things I want to do, but that's kind of later on. But for right now, we get them set up with the right springs and shocks and brakes, and they're just an amazing car to drive, whether it's on the street or on the track. So.
Okay, you ready?
We're moving into questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving into questions. Well, this is really not going well today. But then people who have been with us for a while know that, technology is it kind of bites us in the backside more than once.
Okay, so what we have is Ernie Abercrombie. He asked, how good is the rear spoiler for the 2012 Laguna Seca?
How good is the rear spoiler? Well, I can't. That's a hard question. I have never seen like wind tunnel data, aero data on it, but I can tell you that it is effective. Now the level of effectiveness, I just can't speak to it. I'd have to see some CDF data. It's computational fluid dynamics to tell you how effective it is, but I guarantee the guys at Ford worked on that, and it is better than not having one. Let's put it that way. There is effectiveness that you could feel by having one.
We have quite a few questions today, so I'm just trying to get through all of them. This is from Best Dad. What is the lateral G-force measurement on the skid pad for your full kit on the 99 to 04 Cobras?
You know, that's another tough question. Skid pad numbers, I'm going to tell you right now, are kind of BS numbers for most people. I can take the same car and come up with 5 different skid pad numbers just based on the springs, the shocks, and the tires. We've never actually, I've never focused on that. It's balance and getting around the corner. I can tell you that with the right tires, they're really, really fast. People throw out skid pad numbers, and it's like I say, it's like you put, if it's a street car, they'll put like really sticky tires on and get a false G number and advertise that. So I really don't pay attention to that. What I pay attention to is lap times. To me, that's a constant. But I can tell you that with the full setup, we got the springs, we got the shocks, brakes, wheels, tires, geometry. I mean, the cars just work. I mean, they're just flat work, and they're just absolute ball to drive. Anytime you got a car that's fun to drive, it's you're a better driver and it's smooth. My Kermie, my 2001 track car I just loved driving that car. I mean, I could drive. It was so comfortable to drive. When I used to give rides at tracks, for charity rides, I mean, I could drive that car all day and not get tired and just love it. So, I mean, the actual G-force, I just don't play that game. Sorry, I didn't give you the answer you wanted, but.
Mark Peterson is asking, Kenny, I know it sounds weird, but suspension on a P71.
P71. P71. That's the Panther?
Yeah,
okay, Panther platform. Just a brief thing on that. We started doing, high performance Crown Vics. I can't remember, maybe 99. And the way that came about is Car and Driver came to me, and they wanted to build something that looked like a cop car, but was a really hot street car. And we went through a whole development process and came up with, we refer to it, instead of Crown Vic, we call it a Panther because that's a Panther platform that it sits on. And the article was supposed to be a 2-page article in Car and Driver. It turned out to be a 6-page article called The Lounge Lizard. And it had like the front cop bumper and the cop light on the thing. And it had cop seats. It just looked like a cop car, except we upgraded the suspension. We developed our own Brembo brake package. We built our own Brembo brake package for it and supercharged it. So, I mean, that kind of like took off, and we did quite a few of those cars. And then after that, 2003, I can't remember the Marauder, and we just kind of switched over that because that came with a whole different suspension. As far as the older cars, there are systems of suspension. We don't really carry them anymore. However, if you call me, I can kind of give you some direction on things you can do to improve it. But we used to, I love those Panthers. I had two myself. I had 2 Panthers. I had one of the earlier ones that was supercharged, and I had the later one that was like a street performance. It wasn't supercharged, but it had all the other stuff on it.
Really nice driving.
Yeah, really nice driving cars.
Okay, Mark Peterson has another question. He's wondering what the difference between our suspension and the BMR is.
Okay, yeah, that's a tough question. Let me answer it this way. I build cars. I'm not a parts company. And everything, I focus on it. My background is professional racing. So the cars I build are skewed towards road racing and track. The BMR people the core of their business is drag racing. So, I mean, they do some nice pieces for drag racing. I don't agree with how they do some things. Some of the things they do, I don't agree with for a track day car or a race car. But, I mean, they like I say, they're a drag race company. And what they are, they do nice things. I'm kind of a road race track day guy, so all my bits are, I got geometry first. Nobody else in the aftermarket has the geometry in a suspension that we've got in the S197. Period. Absolutely. Period. And the guys in Speed Therapy Academy, actually, they got to know all my secrets on how I do the geometry. But that's in Speed Therapy Academy. Every week we have a presentation. That is available for them for later to view in the resource part. But the geometry one is the only one that is not available because they learn a lot of secrets, and secrets that I don't think any of our competitors really need to know because it's taken me a lot of years to develop it. The geometry in the S197 is AGS 4.0. That stands for Advanced Geometry Suspension Systems, 4th generation. Generation 1 was 1987 Celine R endurance cars that we won the SCCA Pro Endurance Championship. I won 4 championships, pro championships with those cars. And that's where I started my geometry with help from a guy, a good friend of mine at Ford. And that was generation 1. We moved to generation 2. Generation 3, Gen 3, AGS 3.0 was the SN95 live axle cars. And then generation 3.5 is the SN95 IRS cars. In every case, it's the geometry from what we started with the Celine cars. Every generation gets better and better on geometry. AGS 4.0 is the S197, and that was just a magical car for me because Ford did everything I needed. They gave me a 3-link suspension back of the panel bar. They gave me a front suspension with parallel control arms, and from there, man, I just went wild on geometry. And like I say, I've developed all this geometry stuff over years. I've got my geometry program goes back. I've had it since the early '90s. And before that, we used to do geometry. I just had to figure it out. So I got geometry. Other people have parts. So that's the best way to describe it. You want to go drag racing, you've got some good options. If you want the best track day race suspension, I think we've got it. So next.
Okay. Brian West said about your Kenny Brown GT4 CSR Godzilla. So, I thought that was a cute comment.
I mean, I got to tell you, that car blew me away. I mean, it just turned out so good.
And then, let's see, Wendy has a question. I think she's referring to the rear shock tower brace. What about the rear brace between the 2 rear control arms? I don't know what she's asking about.
If it's the rear shock tower brace, we've got a rear shock tower brace for the SN95s. For the 197s, it's on the list, on the development list. We built some a while back. What we're finding is the difference in the shock towers in S197s varies a lot. So we're having to change the design of the rear shock tower brace for the 197s, which it's on the list. But right now we've got a really big project of a new product that actually is patent pending. And you'll be finding out about that in the weeks to come. The Speed Therapy Academy guys know. In fact, a lot of them already signed up for it. It's a new rear suspension that is absolutely world-changing.
Okay, and I think this, Wendy corrected this, so I'm not sure. She said, she says, no, the back of the subframe is what you, brace that goes between the back of the subframe.
Back of the subframe.
We'll have to just ask her about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. And then Mark Peterson said, freaking sweet, Kenny. And Chris Melatu said, forge lines are awesome. Low weight for not that much. And Chris Melatu asks, Chris, you are commenting a lot here. That's what we get about you, no trinkets. And then he says, how long would it take to build a CSR?
Well, I'll tell you, the first one through took a long time. Because it was so many parts and so complex, and that was about a time where we had real big delays with the suppliers. I would say, actually building it doesn't take long. Getting the parts is what takes all the time.
Especially with COVID.
And especially with this COVID. So I would say no less than 3 months, maybe as long as 6 months.
Just because of parts.
Just because of the part situation. When you've got bill of materials that's as long as your arm, there's a lot of suppliers you have to depend on, and so we have great suppliers, but like let's say with Bear right now, that we're exclusively use Bear brakes. They are so busy that we wanted Rick from Bear to speak in our master class for the Speed Therapy Academy on brakes, but he's just so busy he can't even find the time. So that's what we're kind of running into. But yeah, I'd say at least 3 months. But what we'd want to do is start collecting parts well before we got the car. So it just, it probably take 3-4 weeks, the actual build, and the rest is just getting parts.
Okay, Brad says, I have Kenny's full front and IRS rear suspension. Trust me, it's easy to embarrass expensive supercars. Okay, Wendy said, Carrie, that's the front subframe. So she's looking for I think she's looking at the lower chassis brace for the S197. I think that's what it is.
Front subframe.
Brad says, Wendy is referring to the engine cradle K member, I believe. Let's play Stump Kenny.
Yes, Stump Kenny.
Wendy, why don't you just give a call in and we'll cover it next week. Okay, and then we had one more, Anubis. Okay, Anubis has the full rear grip kit and front grip kit on his car. He said, you mentioned your new rear kit coming out of development. Is that in addition to the current kit or a new complete replacement?
It is I don't want to give too much away because we're still, it's patent pending, and we're right now just getting into production. And once we get production going, I'm going to do like a special segment on it. But it's a replacement for the rear panel bar, and I'll leave it at that. And it does some things that'll just blow your mind. But it's probably, I'd say maybe 4 weeks away. We can do a special segment on it. Maybe Speed Therapy Academy guys saw it, and most of them just put a deposit down right away.
Okay, and then Chris Mellick said, you must have been good at math, Kenny, with your geometry.
Actually, the curious thing is I was only marginal in school with geometry. I say marginal, but I thought this is stupid. Why do you want to study this stuff? And here later in life, I just live and breathe geometry for suspensions. So go figure how things turn around. And
then Sweet Dad says, sweet, thank you. Our Best Dad, and I call him Sweet Dad. Okay, Best says, on the front K-member kit for the 99 to 04 Cobras, the support bar behind the oil pan is not there like the factory K-members. Is that offered for more stiffening of the front end?
Kind of yes and no. We haven't. As some of you know, we had, I took a pretty long health hiatus for a while, and then we came back. We did a licensing program with a company in Chicago that just didn't work out well at all. So once that expired, we moved back to Indy, and we had to start rebuilding all our parts all over again. On the SN95s, we do have the tabs on the K-member, but we don't have the cross brace in yet. Because I just say the list of things we have to do, getting all our stuff back in, plus the new stuff is just pretty extensive. I mean, if I listed every part I had in line for a development part, it'd blow your mind. Because some of them are just, we're gonna rock the market. But what I got coming up over the next couple of years, absolutely gonna rock the market. So yeah, the tabs are there. We haven't really. I know it's a simple piece. It's a simple piece, but thanks for reminding me. I think I'll go down next week and talk to the guys and manufacturers. Hey, can we get this piece built? So it might be coming sooner than it's. I don't know, it's kind of like you focus on the big things and the little things you forget. So we'll work on that.
Okay, great. And then Amy just reminded me, she has a link in the comments. If you would like any personal questions answered by Kenny, schedule a one-on-one 15-minute consult, and there's a link in the comments if you'd like that. That was it for questions. I would just like to mention that we have to sign up for the 5-day Transform Your Driving Experience. It is awesome. You'll learn a lot. It's 5 hours of your time, 1 hour each night, starting November 16th.
Okay, now I'll give you a warning when I do these. You got to pay attention, because I mean I get so wound up. I mean I just go like crazy. So I mean you really have to pay attention. Carrie keeps telling me to slow down, but it's like, I mean, I enjoy talking about all this stuff and I just get going. So you have to pay attention. I squeeze 2 days into 1 day most of the time. But yeah, I try to do the best I can to give you really good, solid information based on my experience.
Okay, so I think Brian West had a question. I'm not sure what it's referencing, but you may know. It says, are the tabs drilled?
Yes. Okay. No, they're not drilled. They got a hole in them. They actually, they're cut on laser. The laser thing cuts them out and weld them on.
Brian's going to be a graduate from the Speed Therapy Academy next week.
Brian's going to graduate from the Speed Therapy Society Academy next week.
So, yep. Okay, I think that's it.
Phew. Well, I apologize for all the technical snafus, but it's something we run into. We're trying to deliver great information. So we may have to do a redo on some of this. We had to figure out how to make this go smoother. When we do this on the Speed Therapy Academy, it's all Zoom. And I've got that figured out. I do really well with the Academy and the Zoom. Because we do Zoom so everybody's there and everybody can talk. It's just like a classroom online. So, it's pretty good. So with that, I think let's wrap up for today. And we will see you next week. I'm not sure what I'm talking about. Send questions in and I'll build a program based around your questions. Because I talk about what you want to learn about. So with that, I don't know where you are, but today in Indianapolis, it's an absolutely gorgeous day. Sun shining, blue skies, mild temperatures. So we're going to go out and enjoy the day. If you have that kind of day where you are, get in your car and drive. You know, you're not going to have many more days left if you're in the north part of the country. So with that, we will see you next week.